Morning, it's 9 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. All rise for the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Hill.
Here.
Treasurer Anderson.
Yes.
Trustee Hoppy.
Here.
Clerk Squires.
Here.
Trustee Osling is absent.
Okay, thank you very much. We're at a time right now at the beginning of the agenda. If there's anybody in the audience that came specifically that will not be coming up and giving a presentation, but might have a comment on any one of the 15 items, and there's going to be a 16th shortly that we're going to have to add to it. Is there anybody that is going to have any comment on any of those 15 that are listed? Okay, not seeing any. I would ask the board place a number 16 as a and Treasurer Anderson will lead us through that brief discussion on the short-term rentals. The Gerrish Township Planning Commission brought out what I call the very preliminary. There's a lot of steps yet to be done if the board is going to consider that for the future. We'll discuss that as number 16 down there. There's no actions that'll be associated with it in April meeting or anything like that. So, all right, number one, road plan, Brad, road commission. Oh, no.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, I was under the impression you have a copy already.
We
Road
do.
plan. Good deal.
Mhm.
All right. So, hopefully this will be a little less painless than last time. A little shorter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lots less.
Yep. So, we are looking with our HMA bid price was predicted for asphalt like $90 a ton. Your plan went down to just over $70. That was a $20 a ton savings basically. So we went from looking at potentially spending 66,000 all the way down to 18,755 for this year. So it was good timing for putting 2 inches of asphalt on roads because we'll be able to go a little bit further for $1. So and the average cost per mile come down for this year's crushing shapes all the way down to about 210,000, which is something that we never thought we'd see again.
Mhm.
Like we were planning on like 250, 260,000 a mile, and now we're all the way down to that. So I'm gonna recommend we move forward with this plan anyways, and you guys are good covering that township cost. And
Well, as you were here last time, Brad,
Mhm.
we had our budget. We had to budget for what even your original amount was. So that's good news for us.
Okay.
With regards to significant savings to the township, obviously. I can't imagine anybody here, but I'll open it up for comment by board that wouldn't want to move forward with the recommended plan to keep on the same schedule that we're on
Mhm.
to go forward. Mary Jo?
Yeah, awesome.
Michelle?
Same.
This is the same road, same work that
Yep.
we talked about last week.
Same
I know-
everything.
I know there was some discussion about putting money into one of the, I'm sorry, I'm kind of ignorant on the actual roads, but I know one of them was questionable because of potential sinking,
Right.
but you're,
That's still in the plan.
Yeah. I mean that the sink and that kind of stuff, that's always gonna be there unless you want to look like 200 years out, for an undetermined time.
right.
So, this is definitely this fix was better than going in and patching holes, they
Yep.
will come back someday.
Yep.
Hopefully not as bad, but this is a good opportunity to start over basically on those roads, and it's a local road without a lot of traffic, so this should, I mean, the crush and shape's anticipated 20-year design, so, I would say at least hopefully half of that,
Sure.
settling and stuff shouldn't be that noticeable, so.
Yeah, I did want to highlight just for the public, because I know we got it in the email, that the cost savings that's reflected lower to the township. Obviously, it was proposed in February. And then also, the reason being is that you folks were told there's not much state and MDOT work around this year, obviously.
Yes,
So
and I brought
it
that
allows
up.
Reef who the ability to get to us and at a cheaper price.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah, Reef
Yeah.
Riley got
That's fair.
the, yep.
Okay, very good.
And it was definitely, from what I
So-
heard, to do with the limited state work.
So we would need a motion Tuesday night to proceed on the presented road plan.
Okay, and then I will get you a actual road agreement before next Tuesday.
Yes, yep, for us to
So-
approve that agreement.
Yep,
Okay,
that'll be, so RCR, just reflecting the plan, our CRC allocation, $114,944.
Mhm.
Millage 171,924, township costs 18,756.
so ours will be a motion to approve the presented allocation pieces. Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Thank
All right.
you.
Anything else?
Satisfied?
Yeah,
Good.
it's basic. I think the wording's gotta be authorize you to sign that. on behalf
To
of the
sign it
board.
on behalf. I don't know, is
Yeah.
that one requires my signature, does it?
Yes,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think it does.
Yep.
Still send it to me.
okay, will do.
Yeah, I'll craft a motion after I see what you got.
Yeah, if I'm coming this way, I'll drop it off, otherwise I'll just email it.
Okay, that'll be for Tuesday, board, if you're comfortable voting on and making a decision.
Absolutely.
Good.
Brad,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks,
Yes,
Brad.
any other questions?
Now,
Good?
enjoy your day.
All right.
When do you
too.
anticipate
Thank you.
getting started?
Hopefully sooner than later. I mean, usually
weather-
traditionally
Yeah.
end of April, but
Yeah.
if things turn for the better, we might get going here in April, so.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate your work on this and keeping us informed.
Welcome.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks.
Nice job on the roads there during this last terrible.
Yeah.
Kudos,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on to number 2. We have Paul Olson, who is our longtime agent from the Michigan Participating Plan. He's here to present the policy, proposed policy for, I think it renews in May. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
correct.
Yeah, it
May
does.
1st.
And so Paul sent us the document, all the board members had copies of that document. I also sent it out to the various department heads to double check the Tokyo Marine schedule to cover the extraneous things that are covered by that portion of the policy. And the police department was fine, the fire department was fine. This comes from the Marine Paul.
Okay,
There is a Wolverine pontoon trailer that apparently was purchased in 2023 before I got here.
we need,
And it was purchased for that amount of money and it's for the marina.
we didn't have,
Added
okay,
in that extraneous schedule.
let me check on and that was on the auto schedule.
That was on the, to us. That was what they noticed.
Pontoon. Boat and motor, okay. Is that for your pontoon boat?
That is for, it's a trailer that they have.
Oh, the
And I
pontoon
think
boat.
Yeah, it's a pontoon trailer only. And I
Okay,
think they use it for transports sometimes in and out of the water or whatever it might be.
that was the fire department, it's the pontoon, right?
No.
No.
It's a marina pontoon at
This
30
marina pontoon, that's the only one we had, right? 25 foot.
That's the only one that the marina manager gave me that didn't appear on the
Okay.
marina manager's Tokyo Marine
Okay.
list.
Great,
Okay?
yeah, we can add that.
So you just have to add that. That was the only thing.
That's gonna be negligible.
Yeah, right.
But I will take care of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
the floor is yours, sir.
well, thanks for having me today. Michelle, I'd sent her out the information on the 25th of March. And, I'm just here to kind of answer any questions that you might have on the insurance. Believe it or not, this is Gerrish Township's 40th year with my agency, so
Crazy, man.
thank you. I appreciate it. I have quite a few of those actually. So, well, not quite a few, but quite a few like that. So basically, I want to talk a little bit about, we're always concerned about premium. And last year's beginning premium was 51,872. This year's premium came back at 61,644. There were some things we added to the policy throughout the course of the year. One was a 25 Ford police car. Okay. Incorporated in there. Also, the power plan, what we've been doing the past 3 years, we've been increasing property values pretty dramatically. We had found over the years that, sometimes you get into losses, and when you're rating something at $150 a square foot, it's just not the way it is anymore. Building costs have gone up dramatically. So we're looking to move our values for municipalities to about 300 to the 270 a square foot. Now, I've had some people say, I don't think that gazebo is worth 80,000. If we have a huge problem with stuff, it's kind of it's a broad brush stroke, right? I have a fire hall in Traverse City at Blair Township we just built for $4.4 million, and then I have other ones in Mason County. It just depends on what's constructed out of what they have. But I think we're pretty good here. I did want to talk to you about a couple things where I think I want to throw a couple things out at you as far as down at the marina. Okay. Looking at the property values at the marina, I want to get an idea from you folks. If something happened down there, let's say at what I call the main marina building, okay, I think that's where you keep your you put your docks in that building, and you have the front part. When I look at where these are rated at, let me go to it to make more sense for you. The street pole barn storage, okay, over to the left-hand side. That currently at replacement cost is 1.2 million. If it burned to the ground. Now, to me, I don't know. I'm trying to get an idea, because you can write this we could write this differently if you wanted to, and probably save some money. I can write these on any building on what we call functional replacement cost. And what functional replacement cost would be, it doesn't matter if the replacement cost was 1.22, okay? If we decided to write it on functional, you would have an idea what you would want to put there. Do you get what I'm saying? If you had a loss, would you have that total building constructed that way? And so, do you get what I'm saying? We can put a amount that we're going to pay, without depreciation, but we could put it on functional for less. I do this on buildings. I also do this. I have several schools that I've taken over the years that maybe a township has taken over, and they now use it as their township hall, and it's 70,000 square feet, at $300 a square foot. You can figure out how much that premium would be. So I do these at functional, where you have an idea what you might build there if you have the loss, and then we can in turn reduce that rate. You follow what I'm saying? We could insure it at functional replacement cost for $500,000. Okay. But you really have to have, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, in the same way at the marina building, it's $4 million on the policy for it. Would you, be a nice building probably, but would you want to, I'm just giving you an idea where I can, at this point in time, I could save you some money.
So where did the 4 million come from?
That comes from our company doing replacement costs. Yeah. Yeah, actual replacement cost. And see, we write a blanket basis. If you went to functional, you wouldn't have the blanket either. So you'd lose the blanket. And what the blanket's ability is if you have, a loss at this building, okay, and this building's on there for $3.5 million. Okay, so if you had a loss here, and what the blanket does for you with no coinsurance, it would allow you how do we equate a loss? First of all, well, we're going to look, obviously the square footage is big, right? Then you'd hire an architect to come in and, you design your township hall really based on the square footage is how we get the cost. But also with the blanket, in essence, you'd have 12 million to replace this building instead of 3.5 million. You follow what I'm saying?
I don't follow.
You follow the blanket basis means all of your buildings combined. If you have one building, you lose, and it was on the policy for, this is kind of contradicting what I'm actually saying. But if you had one building that was on the policy, let's say you had a loss somewhere else, and the building was on the policy for 150, okay, and you had to replace it for 300, we would replace it for 300. That's what the blanket does for you.
Well, you're paying for protection.
Protection, yeah. We
Sure.
write, in my estimation, the best property coverage there is. Now, does the property coverage cost money? Yes, but you always know when you have a loss, at least the ones I've had have turned out pretty well in the long term.
I don't want to open a can of worms.
We'll open it up.
Go ahead,
Well,
Jim.
I mean,
okay,
obviously-
one of my concerns would be like the building you talked about, the 1.4. There's boats in there that are stored all winter.
Mhm.
Would that be enough?
Are they covered? Are they required by the
They would,
arena to have
I
their
would
own
assume they
insurance?
would be, if I had something in storage, I'd want the property insured. So they should insure their boat when it's in storage, their company that's insuring the boat.
But are we liable in any sort?
That's what I guess
No,
what
but I
I'm
mean,
wondering.
that's-
We have
I'm
we
not-
have exposure to that. is
You
what I'm
may
wondering.
have exposure to that, but in most cases, it really depends on how your contract's set up too.
I guess it's
Yeah,
something
well,
I want to
yeah.
we're in the process of reviewing kind of everything.
Okay,
And
so put it this way, my estimation would be that those boats that are stored in there, if there was a fire, they would go back to their individual boat owner or
I would too.
Yeah. And now that doesn't mean that,
It doesn't mean somebody's
someone
not gonna
can't
try to
sue you.
litigate or sue you
Absolutely.
for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Just saying,
that
hey, it's
happens
in
all
there.
the time because we don't have control over who drafts a summons and complaint against you. Our responsibility is if that summons and
So-
complaint triggers coverage,
Right.
we're going to defend you to the policy limits of 5 million.
So the question that I have is, the main building down there, it's currently a pole structure.
Mhm.
It has concrete floors in it. There's no accoutrements in that building.
Right.
I mean, it has been run with a shell essentially and
Right.
there. And if it were to burn, where are we at? And if you decrease your coverage, obviously, it obviously means more liability for yourself. When
Right.
you start decreasing your coverage.
And I'm not
And-
trying to convince you to do
No,
this. I'm just throwing it
listen,
out.
I appreciate you bringing it up. And right now, when you look at those, I just recently found out that in the brown buildings going up, that, literally there's 16 boats in there right now.
Mhm.
That get charged a fee, obviously, to be inside those, and literally there's not much else in there.
In there.
There is some dock storage, obviously, in some of those as well. But so what is a functional going to replace in the event we suddenly lost all that to fire?
Okay, so
That's significant.
it's a rather, if I'm remembering the building, it runs along the back of
It
the
does,
marina
yeah.
building.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying by functional, what I tell most people is you as a board or a township would have an idea, you get what you would want to replace that with. Does it need to be 40, 30 feet high? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes,
You
yeah.
would have,
The
so
depth
we
is it
would-
even gonna stay there?
right, we would put a number in there that is less than the amount that's replacement cost. And you would know that if let's say we want to insure the storage building for 700,000 instead of 1.2. So that 700,000 goes off the blanket, which really isn't that big of a deal because you have 12 million in property. So you just have do you get what I'm saying? You have an idea of what you would want to put there. Because if you have a loss there, what are you going to get? 700,000. instead of the 1.2. That's all. And by reducing that $500,000 off the replacement cost schedule, I'm just finding that has and is saving, a little bit of money, a couple thousand. Property is expensive right now. Reason property is expensive is that, you just look around America and every second there's something going on where there's a disaster. We've got tornadoes right now. And all of this is affected by the reinsurance that every insurance company purchases. Every insurance company, us, doesn't matter who it is, they go out and purchase reinsurance. And that's what's driven premiums up the last 3 years is the exorbitant cost of reinsurance, which is really the cat coverage for people. Some companies like Power Plan, we carry up to $1 million ourselves, but that 1X of $4 to $5 million, that's reinsurance out. A lot of different things, our reinsurance uses.
Well, some of the other consideration you have to look at is in today's market that we're in, or we're obviously in a tariff-based situation.
Yeah.
And it's going to take your lumber prices higher as well. So,
believe me, building costs have
is this? Yeah, I was
escalated.
going to say, is this the time to be thinking about saving $2,000?
No, and I just want to,
as opposed to biting the apple again, and maybe because we are going to be looking at that out there. I don't know what. When I say I don't know, with the marina where we're at right now out there in that property, Paul, we're within the 5-year payoff of that marina.
okay.
And so we've got to get moving this year on getting some thought processes together of what that whole piece of property looks like.
Right.
The pole buildings are really old in
Right.
there. And, you take a look, I just got done telling you, if we found out there were 16 boats in there. And so there is some revenue potential in there, but will those pole barns be in that future plan? I don't know that right now.
That and are we use it to its fullest potential?
Correct.
That's so we're just, I only got elected in November. He's been here a little bit longer, but we're trying to just address like a strategic plan for out there, which is probably include some infrastructural improvements.
Right.
Getting back to insurance, I'm a huge proponent on risk management. I think that, and when I say that, is not just making sure you have good insurance, but making sure you're not doing something that causes additional liability.
Right.
What I see out there, you have a liability issue. Yeah, okay, a building could go down because of the windstorm or something, but what's more likely? The way the cars are parked, the way the traffic patterns are, proximity of people going through traffic.
You have more of a premise exposure there.
I think there's liability issues there that are greater likelihood of an experience. Those buildings I look at, they really are just. I've seen farmers that store hay at better buildings. So
I walked in there last winter and almost slipped on my back.
Yeah,
into the marina building.
So even the main building, it's highly underutilized.
Right.
And as you pointed out when we're there, here is where the office is. It's got literally $1 million view sitting there.
Yeah.
Is where the managers, but
years ago they were going, let's put a restaurant in there.
So that's our thought is that maybe we'd like to get an architect or somebody in there and start looking at, here's some ideas, but the idea of reducing coverage.
No, I think that's fine.
I think I appreciate the fact that you're giving us an offer to come up with a cheaper premium, but
okay, good.
I'm too early in the game.
I would prefer to keep it like it is too.
Yeah, it's too early in the game for me to say, let's.
Yeah, so as long as basically what we're looking at, we added cyber coverage in the middle of last year, and then that total premium this year is $1,400 for the cyber. I think the cyber protection is good. I have one client that's utilized it in this county, and ended up being about a $30,000 claim. And it was more or less a breach, a cyber breach. And in Michigan, they have to do a lot of work when you have that because they go into your computers, they look at everything. You have to send information out to every person on your computer. It really becomes large issue, I think,
Well, it
but
becomes administrative afterwards if you don't
yeah,
have
and
coverage.
so I think that for 1,400, our cyber, I think is very comprehensive, but it's also pretty cost effective still. When cyber came out, it goes up. It's been going up every year because obviously they didn't know, where the claims were going to be. So now most cyber companies, what I'm saying, we're right in, I think, about the area we should be, for that cost and coverage. So overall, you've had about, if I add everything in, we've had about a 9% increase, and that is pretty standard right now with us. When I'm out here, a lot with my clients over the past 3 years, and that's really where I've seen increases over the past, 3 years. Not huge, but I mean we're tracking along at about a 9% increase. If you've got some terrible losses, if I've got a client with a 200, 300% loss ratio, they may see a 35% increase.
Mhm.
And I've had people, I've been doing this a long time, so I've had people go, well, I don't know if we can pay that, Paul. And I said, I give them an opportunity, go out and see what you can find. I know what's in the market in Michigan in this field because I've done it for a long time. And I don't see many people going out to bid, first of all, because it's very quiet in the market. You follow what I'm saying? I think people are waiting to see. I've been told maybe 2026 we'll see a little softening of the market, but we're not sure if we will or not. But I try to keep it. I go to bat for most of my clients. You guys have been a great client. Plus, your losses have been, good. And so I appreciate that because I don't have to yell too much at underwriting when we.
Most of ours is vehicle oriented.
Yeah, and that happens.
Backing into the tree.
Yep.
something like that.
But those type of things happen. But you've stayed out of litigate. You for the most part stayed out of litigation, and we do have non-monetary. Just to review a couple things, you have non-monetary damage coverage for your zoning. So if someone sues you for an injunctive relief, okay, make sure you let us know or your attorney lets us know, because how we do that now is it's just up to 25,000, but we reimburse, okay, your attorney if he has to handle it, and it does trigger, a non-monetary. So just keep that in mind. Are there any other questions at all?
I don't have any, there you go. Michelle,
No.
Jim. Okay, then for April 8th, we'll have a motion to approve as presented.
Sounds good. I'll make this change for
You
you
make
too,
that
Brian.
one trailer change and get.
I
some
noticed
update.
there is a trailer in there from 10 years prior. Did they
Yeah,
get rid of one to get the new one?
No, that's not it.
Oh, they're
Okay.
all there.
Okay,
I got, that's why I wanted to
Yeah,
make
they're-
sure.
They're all there.
okay.
That one just wasn't accounted for in 2023 apparently.
Okay. And I'm not, because I do have the pontoon on the inland marine,
That is the fire department's.
but that is the fire department's.
Fire
Okay.
department has a rescue pontoon for.
Okay.
things like
So
that.
that is supposed to be on the fire.
That's
Okay.
fire.
I was a little confused on that. All right. Listen, I'll let you get back to your meeting. Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
business.
See you,
I
Paul.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Appreciate it. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Have
All
a good
right.
day.
You too.
Jason, you're up. Building and zoning update. Nice beginning and end of the year report, Jason. It really does tune in what what you had told us over the year being slightly down, if you will, there.
Right.
It really does. Thank you for being a key to that. Go ahead. You have the floor.
March 2025 building report. We had 9 building permits. Another new dwelling is among them. 5 electrical permits, 2 mechanical, 3 plumbing. A site plan review, which will be this next Thursday. That's for the cell tower. For a total of $8,287 for March. We do have, I guess we're paying for last year. We had 1 zoning board of appeal. We've already had 2, and I've already spoke to probably 6 other people that are.
Say that again?
I've already spoke to 6 other people who are going to be going to the zoning board of appeals. So it's going to be it sounds like it's going to be a big year with
For zoning board.
variances.
It was
Yeah.
pretty much a not much for last year.
1 all year.
One all year.
Yeah. There's one, I just spoke to the builder and the architect yesterday, and with the addition, it's a two-story addition on this house, is gonna, bring the home to over 7,900 square feet. That's gonna be a big project.
Is this like near the lake?
It's on Flynn. You know where Flynn is?
Yeah.
On Flynn?
At the
So
corner
it's
of,
off the lake.
yeah, at the corner of Flynn and Lang.
Wow. There's no vacant land there, is there?
No, it's an existing home,
Two
Oh, is it
stories up.
Two-story going up.
and I think it must be around 2,700 square foot now,
Wow.
and he's adding over 5,200 square feet to it.
In that subdivision.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Well,
think
you know,
that'll
it's-
probably make the biggest house in the township.
I look at this as a twofold.
Taxes.
My immediate reaction is how big is the septic?
Oh, I know, right?
How big is the, how big is?
That was my first
I'm
comment.
acutely aware of those things at this point. now.
Because he's gonna have 8 bedrooms, so that was my first comment. You are putting in a new septic, correct?
Right, well, yeah, exactly, yeah. It's a double-edged sword, obviously. So, you know, it's nice that people want to invest in our community, but, you know, it's got to go through the process.
Yep. So that's kind of where we're at. Things are starting to pick up, so.
All right, Joe? Sean?
I'm actually surprised that things are starting to pick up. Do you think with the state of the world and economy that anything is going to change and deter that?
Get your.
Well, I kind of assumed it would. But it, you know, especially with the lakefront, those people have got money that nothing bothers
Well,
them.
yeah.
They're always going to be doing it.
Okay.
Well, most, I should say most.
A percentage.
Yeah, a good percentage of them. So that there's always that work right on the lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
The home that burned down, I think last year on West Higgins Lake Drive.
Oh, yeah. that
I
was
got
there.
plans for a new house there, so
Okay.
That's a
that's,
skinny lot too, isn't it?
no, that's a big lot.
Is it a big lot?
Yeah, it's kind of a L shape,
Oh, it's weird. That's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
got it.
it's over 2 acres, I think.
Yeah, but what's the frontage? The frontage isn't very big.
Yeah,
I
maybe
remember
a
seeing
100
that.
foot or 75 frontage, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Jim?
No,
Okay, I have nothing else. Jason, thank you
Thanks,
very much.
Jason.
You bet.
I appreciate you keeping us updated.
Yep.
Number 4 is the police department updates. Lieutenant Labonte is here today as the chief is on vacation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Going over the March board work session report. 2016 Ford Interceptor, the bids were closed as of yesterday at 4 o'clock. And you guys are gonna open those bids.
We have not received any, dear.
No bids?
No bids.
Oh,
Back to the drawing board.
all right.
Means you're gonna have to reopen it, I guess.
I got a feeling with the tariffs going on, the used car market's gonna get real strong.
You know,
Get
man.
strong shortly, yeah.
Yeah.
It may, but.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess, you know, from our perspective you know, obviously you're gonna have to extend the bids or do something.
Yeah.
And then pick another date with the clerk's office
good.
operationally.
Was there a minimum? Is that why we didn't?
Yeah.
Did put a minimum on it, yeah.
5,900.
Yep, the minimum amount.
Okay.
And this particular car has got quite a few good things going for it, although it was a reconditioned by us
Mhm.
with what, transit engine or
Yeah,
whatever.
both.
So they all have a lower mileage and a lower whatever, but nonetheless, can you work with the clerk's office then?
Yes,
Petey?
we will. Officer Stahersky is back to work as of March 4th, and he is very enthusiastic. Looks good in his uniform, and he is currently working with Officer Most, our newest officer, for the FTO program. And they're both doing very well. Bringing up Officer Most, he's still in the FTO process, and he is doing well. We received a letter of resignation from the custodian Pam Long this month due to personal reasons, and we're going to need the board's approval to accept the resignation of Pam at Township's regular meeting on April 8th. With the resignation of the custodian, the chief is looking for the board's approval to fill the vacant position, also at the meeting on April 8th. With the approval of the board, Dylan Sherrill, he's a sponsored cadet with Gerrish with our department. And we're working with him. He's gonna attend the Kirtland Community College Academy, and that starts August 11th, 2025. Once everything's in line with Officer Sherrill or Dylan Sherrill, we will be applying for the $20,000 grant from MCOLS. And the grant will cover $9,000 for the academy cost, and the remaining $11,000 will help offset his wages benefits incurring while he is in the academy.
It's a great program. Hope it doesn't go away.
Right.
Yeah.
As a follow-up from last month, with the mobile digital computer systems in the car, the computers in the car, and the electronics, we are going to be looking for the board's approval to authorize spending of up to $25,044 to outfit 3 of the 4 patrol cars with the new technology. And as for this to be put on the regular township board meeting schedule for April 8th, 2025.
Very good. He briefed us last month
Yep.
on it,
Yep.
and he is applying also for the 5,000 for some of the offset. Whether you get
Yes.
that or not out of our part plan rep, I don't know.
Officer Ellis has advised us that he has heard back from the Attorney General's office on the case from August 2023. And they're looking to charge the suspect before his upcoming trial in April on separate charges in Crawford County.
Fantastic.
Can I just, this has been on the agenda for quite a long time, and
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know what's so significant that that particular one's on the agenda. Is it-
This is a pretty, I can answer it. I do.
Go ahead.
It started under my tenure, and it's a pretty significant fraud case, elder abuse, vulnerable adult,
okay,
in which an individual that was responsible or is alleged to be responsible, shall I say, acquiring properties and monies through gaining powers of attorney, and in it is multiple counties that are also involved. We had a great case, and so we worked with the prosecutor's office in Roscommon to elevate it to the Attorney General's office.
okay.
And so it's a significant case.
I just was curious. because
it
it's
does-
just
Been going
kinda
on for
rolling
quite a long
along.
time, yeah.
I don't know what it was
well,
about.
that's kind of what happens
Okay.
with these, but it is a significant case in our township, and our PD did a wonderful job and continue to do a wonderful job, including specifically Officer Ellis, who handled that. He hasn't been a super long time with us, but he handled that like a 10-year
Did.
pro.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the case will be successful. So.
Good. Sorry.
No, you're
No,
fine.
no.
From last month, the chief followed up with resident, Mr. Sperry, and on the board's decision about the no parking signs on Cardinal Avenue. The chief explained to Mr. Sperry, the process, and he was very receptive to it. So, and we're gonna up enforcement during the summer so that hopefully it will take care of his concerns. This month we had our Polaris Ranger number 241. It was running rough. It wouldn't keep idle. It was in pretty bad shape, and we took it to Spicers. They were able to adjust some throttle cables and did spark plugs and wires, and it runs like new. It actually run really good. So. This month we received the new body worn cameras. I'm currently wearing one. They're the same, although they're just a newer version. So
The same, only better.
yes, the batteries last longer, which
Yes.
is good. The older ones, we were getting to the end of our shift, and like an hour before the end of our shift, the batteries would die. So, but these were part of the contract we have with them. The chief met with Roscommon County Road Commissioner or Commission Manager Roger Saxon and Undersheriff Ben Lowe discussed the no parking signs near the South State Park. Roger is looking into getting the current no parking area posted as a tollway zone so that we can legally tow a vehicle if they park in a posted no parking zone.
Who's paying for that?
Well-
What?
Signs.
Well, that,
Sorry.
well, they did a temporary signing last year in which they charged us to put them up and charged us to take them down, the road commission. So I don't know whether he's looking at any permanency to this or otherwise, but that needs to be discussed with the chief for the future. I'm sure he's aware of that.
Oh, he is.
So what they're working on, I also attended the meeting, and what we're going to work on is trying to get the signs posted probably year round. And then what they're working on is the language on the sign. And also if we need to put dates on the sign,
So we
like
can tow
only
and
enforced
you
from
can
this
charge,
date to
okay.
this date. That way there's only one charge for putting them up and that's it.
But using the same signs that are out there to replace, so you're talking about brand new signs, then to replace the no parking?
No,
What is
the
it?
no parking would stay where it's at now. It's just the new no parking that we want to.
But a new sign.
Yes.
So there is going to be potential cost to new sign on
Correct.
those. And of course, they charge to mount those. So
Correct.
make sure they're having discussions about that.
Yes.
It's another thing that, there's a trickle down from the state park again with no financial assistance.
Is there
to handle
any
the-
reason why we can't leave the no parking going all year round?
That's what they're talking about doing.
So,
Yeah, that's the discussion they're having right now.
Okay.
As to, what is the best way forward? Roger's got to get with his board too, for their input, I'm sure. And
Plus the state police has to,
And the state of Michigan,
approve it.
7 districts got to look at it, so. Traffic services.
the chief met with Fire Chief Gilliam, and they have decided that Chief Ushinsky will be the primary person for the Roscommon Rotary Club to represent Gerrish Township, and Chief Gilliam will be the alternate.
Perfect.
Roscommon Emergency Operations Center is switching from Code Red to help me with that, Genesis alert notification system. I put some on the table back there if anybody wants a copy. You can sign up to receive emergency alerts at roscommongenesis.com and /portal, but that's all right on the flyer that's on the table.
It's any resident, it's free of charge.
Yes. And the chief is happy to report that we met our internal budget projections from 18 months ago for the past budget year 2024, 2025. That just closed out.
Yeah, you.
Perfect. I made the 3 motions noted here for
Yep.
Tuesday night. Any board member have any problem with any one of the 3 motions? Are you prepared to vote on it?
Yes,
Nope.
sir.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Norm.
Okay, we are on to the fire and EMS. Chief Gilliam, please.
Good morning.
Your floor.
I'm not gonna go over all this. You guys have it. It's a lot, and we have a pretty long agenda. I'm gonna highlight on a couple things. Our call volume was a lot higher this month than it normally is in March, and it's because we had 17 power line calls down early Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon from that storm. So we had more power line calls than anything. For training hours, this month we had 94 training hours for our personnel. That's pretty significant. But I also included too, the hours that we actually spend out in the community, so people are aware. We spent about 63 hours out in the community doing things, whether it's the school, CPR classes, smoke detectors, meetings, that kind of thing. I also want to let you guys know that the smoke detectors did get put in down here in your township. That's been taken care of.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So in March, Project Graduation did a dodgeball for raising money, and we participated in that along with other agencies in the area. It's a really good turnout. We came in, I think, 4th place out of 6 instead of last place like we did the year before. So it's a pretty good turnout. It was a lot of fun. Law enforcement did not win this year. The seniors did, so that's even better. Our association decided we were going to donate money to the Roscommon Little League's baseball program in support of purchasing their equipment. So we helped out a little bit there. We also participated in escorting the Roscommon High School girls varsity basketball team out of their town for their regional game. They were doing really well this season. Unfortunately, they lost that game, but they did have a great season. Committees and meetings, basically we did a lot of the same ones we did. However, Assistant Chief Rogers and I attended the Chamber of Commerce breakfast and informational presentation. It was the first time we've never been there, so that's kind of neat. We also found out that the senior center does lunches, not only for the seniors, but anyone's allowed to attend with the price of $6. So I've been printing out those menus for our crews, and if they'd like to go have lunch down there, they're welcome to. Let's see. So department activities. Full-time firefighter, paramedic position took place. The interviews took place March 20th. And the committee recommended Josh Thompson for the position, which is conditional pending the completion of his fire academy. I did give you the letter of recommendation to look at, and Supervisor Hill has the conditional letter. So we're looking for a motion on Tuesday to approve the hire of him. Our drone team has been working on updates in the policy to get the drone ready to go. Their policy book is almost done. They do have their flight hours in. So we're looking at April 14th as the deadline. So that should be all taken care of so we can get that up and running. And we'll let dispatch know when that happens. Significant events. So one of the things I want to highlight is our crews, when they do some outstanding things, we do have a great crew and all our teams are outstanding. But this specific one was called in by our liaison from the Grayling Med Control. Our crews did an intercept with Markey Township for a pretty significant rollover accident. The ER liaison wanted us to know that the ER doctor and the nurses, all the staff that were in the ER, were extremely impressed with not only their patient care and their professionalism and how well they work together. They called what they said is the treatment was textbook perfect, which doesn't happen very often, especially when things get crazy. The Markey crew also mentioned how amazing the crew was. The crew was Josh Sanford and Neil Dopp. Neil Dopp is the medic that was working, and he got to work in the back of Markey's rig with their two crews, or with their crew. Very brand new EMTs, both of them were. They were extremely impressed with how well Neil worked with them and let them do treatments and showed them basically what he was doing and why he was doing what he was doing, considering this was a priority call. They said that he was amazing. Neil is a great instructor, so this does not surprise me at all. So I just kind of wanted to bring that to light so you guys know this is great that we're not only seeing our crews work so well, but work well with other departments. Because of the storms that rolled in this weekend, we got a call from our MABUS activation, and we sent a unit to Alpena, our ambulance crew. Matt Wooten and Assistant Chief Rogers went to Alpena for 24 hours and helped with their EMS calls because they were overwhelmed, taxed, and beyond their resources. So that was pretty nice. We've never done that before, so that was something new. So other than that, we do have some more CPR classes and bleeding control classes for the high school coming up. We have a job fair that we're going to attend in Grayling on April 10th. I also just found out today that the Roscommon High School is having theirs the end of April too, so we'll be attending that one as well. And we will be participating in the Act Now annual bowling fundraiser. We have a team going to that, so we intend on winning. So,
not that you're competitive
I know,
or
right?
anything.
Not that we're competitive or anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it for me.
I want to back you up real quick before I let you go. Language, I know you gave me the history of your potential hire here. The language of conditions that you're placing that I'll need for the motion.
All right, didn't I sent you that on the other day? Yes, but I sent you that.
Is it in the email?
Yes.
All right, I'll go back and look.
Okay. I sent you
In the
actual conditional job offer that has.
Got you.
Yep.
I will go look for that to make sure it didn't go into something else for me. Thank you.
Okay.
We're good.
Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Wait a minute. Mary Jo, anything for Christy?
No.
Michelle? Michelle?
No, it's really nice to hear you expound on your crew too and the
Yeah.
great job that everybody's doing.
The only thing I would comment is more of a comment. When you mentioned that you sent that ambulance up to Alpena, that's a cooperative thing that's done.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that we spent our resources
No.
for the township. I'm saying this for
So
everybody
people
else
know.
listening.
Yeah.
Yet does have a reimbursement that will come back at some point.
Well, you're not gonna be here for the meeting. I'll see if we can have Matt Woot come in if you want Tuesday and he can explain a little bit.
No,
on what they
I'm
did.
not asking. I'm just
Well, just for the
making a
public.
It
comment.
was really interesting to talk to Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very,
Just a thought.
But it's good that, I think governments need to do that, work with each other. It's not like we all have our own little kingdoms and that.
for sure.
Right.
Yep.
It's all part of the emergency management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yes.
But,
Exactly.
yeah, it was, I mean, it's not good that we have to exercise that ever, but those communities suffered immensely. And, every community I've ever been around to, with public safety runs at what I call minimum staffing
Yeah.
necessary. So when you have that constant as your regular, when these
Mm-hmm.
events happen, they're just simply overwhelming.
Because we could be on the receiving end
We
of
could-
something.
we
Exactly.
should be-
Exactly.
One thing that Brandon and Matt did mention is Alpena's fire chief and their deputy chief did an amazing job. They were very calm, collected, and managed to have conversations with them and seemed like they really had their head in the game. So I think that's something that we need to strive for if we ever have that in the future.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to number 6, which is, I agended this as a GLUA, just a dissolution update from Gerrish's perspective so that everybody understands where we're at. Obviously, some attended when we did our March, I think it's March 20th or whatever, the last resolution we did. And you'll note that there was in the paper a press release and whatever. So where it sits for Gerrish Township at this point is our attorney, who just got back from vacation or maybe just getting back, is getting with Lyon Township's attorney to discuss somewhat of the, it almost appears like an impasse, but I don't want to call it that, with what is Lyon going to do with their end of the dissolution piece. That will determine how we move forward with any actions that we need to make to continue the process forward. I can report, and Jim Anderson probably has a little bit more intimate knowledge of the finance piece, but the GLUA board principals, Jim Barnwell, Bill Check, which are the chair and the secretary, treasurer, whatever it might be, have been making the overtures to address the issues that we had indicated we'd like to see get addressed as we move forward. There's another grant out there called MDARD that we learned of, which was $100,000 grant with a $45,000 match from GLUA. And the work has been completed. And I know that Susan Zemek was the author of the grant, and she is working on an amendment to that to show MDARD that indeed it was completed, if you will. And at this point, there is some intention that it may or may not, the state may or may not require some paybacks of something. We don't know what those numbers are yet, and we don't know whether or not that's the case. So that is yet to be determined. So that is a current status from Gerrish Township's side of the dissolution update. I don't know what Lyon's posture will be, but our attorney will work with their attorney and determine where we're going to be ultimately. And so there's that. Jim, you got anything else to add to that?
No, I think you covered it. The grant issue is, or that's an interpretation by one of the state bureaucrats on their end about whether what the work that was done suffices to, and I think it has more to do with the timing, but I think in the defense of Barnwell and Bill Check, it's not that they didn't tell us there wasn't a grant, because it was listed there. The issue is the potential that the grant wasn't going to be fulfilled to the point where the state was satisfied to give us the money for the work that was done. That's really and I don't know if they really understood that themselves. So that's got to be worked through. But I think that the fact that I think everybody's now understanding there's not $1 million out there to be had. I think that the incentive to keep that thing going just because there was potential repurposing money, that's dead in the water, I think. So we'll see what happens.
So in the spirit of now you know what I know, now you know what I know. Beyond that, there's more work that has to be done, but suffice it to say that we are on top of it. And we'll continue to work through the process. As with any type of corporate dissolution, some things take time. It's not an overnight process. And so we'll continue to take a look at it and do the things that would be necessary to best protect Gerrish Township's liabilities in the process. So, Mary Jo, any comment on that? Otherwise,
Nope,
Michelle?
thank you.
Jim?
Nope.
Thank you. Thank you for your words. Okay, we're on to the review of a preliminary policy proposal for ESTA, this Earned Sick Time Act. You hear us alluded to a couple times, and employee acknowledgement forms. And so I did some work, if you will, of trying to put together something to replace our section 8 in our manual of the paid medical to replace the Michigan paid medical leave, which is no longer there, and it's replaced by the Michigan earned sick time. The only thing I wanted to talk about today is we do have some differing of opinion, I think even on the board individually. If you go to the document that I gave you and go to section H, documentation, if the leave is being used for more than 3, it has to be 3 by statute. In our policy manual, the general policy manual, just covering general leave time or sick or otherwise, we have only allowed 2 in the past to our general. So I think that we're probably going to have to look at adjusting that to make the 3 because just with the Michigan Earned Sick Time Act to get it together, it's going to have to be 3. So just letting you know that ahead of time. So I have stricken out the 2 and put the 3 in for final production on that when we can agree on that. The other piece that has to be addressed and in section E under accrual and usage.
Are you on the same piece?
I'm on the same ESPA thing. It's if you go back to section E, accrual and usage of my, shall I call it proposed, you'll see down at the bottom, I did adjust that to 120 calendar days as we discussed at a past meeting. And of course, if nothing changes within the law, you may only use 72 hours of sick leave a year. Under the next section or the next here, it says sick leave may be used in 1 hour increments because they aren't going to be able to earn it in a very big rate. You got 1 hour for every 30 hours that are worked. So the 1 hour increment carries forward. The next statement, though, is the one that I know there are some differing opinions of verbiage. Unused sick leave carries over to the next leave year. However, again, you can only use 72 hours of that. In discussions individually with board members, they thought that we don't have to offer any carry forward. And with that, I also looked up the language in the no more unlimited carryover of time year to year. And this comes from Fahey, Schultz, and whatever they're the attorneys, what I could get online. I haven't consulted with them personally. So it says, in contrast to the original ESTA, this is in the 11th hour changes they made. The amendments allow for limits on annual carryover of hours. Employers that choose to use the accrual method, which is what we are going to use, we are not front loading the 72 hours. It says that choose to use the accrual method rather than for front loading can, note the word can, have an annual carryover at the 40 or 72 or more hours For employers who front load, there is no requirement to permit that. So the main word to look at here is you can. It doesn't say you shall, it just says you can. So we as a board have to decide on the can. Can is a permissive type of a word.
I think there's also two categories of employees. Let's say you've got somebody that works year round here,
Yeah, that's covered in one of the
but
first.
then the other one is the seasonal.
Correct.
Because if you're only working 6 months and you're off 6 months,
Mhm.
the way I interpret that, you start over again the following year. There is no required carryover at all. And I don't even think there should be an expectation of that either. That's my opinion.
Correct. Your understanding, Michelle, is it's statutory and you have to. Is what
No,
you and I
couple
talked
different
about.
things, couple different things. There's only full-time and everybody else.
Right, really, when you get down to it.
That's it. There's full-time and everybody else.
And your eligible employees in Michigan, under the Earned Sick Time Act, ESTA, most employees are eligible for that paid sick time.
Correct.
And then if you go to C, section C, where I have those who can set their own hours with employer policy, which is what we do with our 40-hour-a-week folks, unpaid interns and trainees and youth employees under the Youth Employment Standards Act, and then elected officials and their appointed deputies would be an exception to these pieces. So really, at the end of the day, we're talking about that seasonal piece. Are we
Okay.
or are we not going to allow?
Let's go
That
back a
carryover.
step. Let's go back a step. When you're talking about front loading and accrual.
Yeah.
And whether or not we're going to carry anything over. We do have a choice because we're going to go with the accrual method,
Correct.
which is the method where the employee is earning it based on time worked.
Yep.
Different than if you front load it and it's different than if they're earning it.
I think we
my
all agree with
personal
that.
feelings are if they're earning it, then I don't think it's fair at the end of the year that you take it away. They've earned it. Just my opinion.
That's what we're.
So in turn the carryover, I think should be allowed. As
So-
far as the seasonal piece, we have to stop doing that because it's not just about that. Because what it's saying is that if you are no longer employed for more than 2 months, if you are no longer employed for more than 2 months,
Mhm.
then you don't get that back. If you go for 5 months in between being employed,
Mhm.
you don't get that. It's gone.
That's exactly right. And
That's why he's
I
saying
think
no accrual.
that's exactly right.
But that's got nothing to do, why?
Well, the only reason
Oh, yeah, no,
You
accrual.
labeled
Yeah,
it that-
no.
the only reason I labeled that way is because originally I think Brian's interpretation was that he used the term reasonable expectation, return to work.
That's correct.
They made you not, made you more
That
like a
doesn't-
part-time person rather than, and I'm agreeing with you. I think if you're off for 2 to
Yeah, because they
6
changed that
months.
from 6 to 2 months.
Yeah, I have it
Yeah,
here.
right. And the problem here is that, to be all fair, we were all trying to learn this as it was rolling out.
And then
And
the-
The
they
date,
literally
it's the date.
changed the law.
On the day.
Day
Yeah.
that they passed it. So
Yep, that's,
the day they passed it, they changed the law.
yeah,
Jim, also on that piece, it does say in the 11th hour adjustments. It says employers are not required to restore or maintain a sick bank
Mhm.
for any employee who has been separated for 2 or more months.
Right.
So quite simply put,
So we could leave it mute.
well,
And
we,
just,
Mhm.
it's just,
Mhm.
well, we're just gonna
And
say you don't
again, I
accrue
don't,
over.
it's just, we just have, it doesn't have anything to do with seasonal. We have
Right.
full-time people
Part-time.
and we have everybody
Yes,
else,
correct. You are
everybody
correct.
else.
Yes. I just say that to you. You are correct. You are correct. So what I
Oh,
can do, if it's your direction, we can indicate in there that we we either leave it mute, which I'm not really for, only because I'm an expectations guy. That it is not carryoverable, if you will, there. Keep in mind when you say everybody else, because here's your.
Well, yeah, here's
Seasonal
what,
exposure is much less because 1 hour for every 30.
right,
You quite simply put with your 120.
but it
You're
excludes,
not gonna have, it'd take them years.
it
to get to that.
excludes the seasonal because they are no longer
Correct.
employed for the 2 month, more than 2 months.
you
So
don't think
carryover-
You don't think that we should put that in here? We should just say that we follow.
The law,
Yeah, because I think you have
Well,
to
you're
at
gonna get
least,
down to can, the word
I think you at
can.
least have to.
Brad, am I
No,
wrong?
somebody reads this, they don't think that they misinterpret it, I guess.
I want to be clear.
Yeah, I want it to be
I
clear.
want you to know that you're not going to get a carryover year to year
If you're a part-time
of
person,
season.
you can carry over if you're a part-time person.
we make the decision whether they can or not.
It's correct.
You're right, we do. You're right.
So
You're right.
that needs to be put in here, whether we're gonna or not.
And what are your feelings on if they're accruing it, meaning they're working for it? What are your feelings on allowing them to carry it over?
I think we should.
I think we should too. But why do we have to separate out seasonal when the law does?
It's not, yeah, but I agree, but the law is not. If we're gonna do that, we need to just say in accordance with
The law.
the law,
I hear you.
you know.
I
because
agree. I
think
hear you. I do.
people are gonna base it what
Mhm.
we wrote in this document. They're not gonna go research the law.
Okay, so in my first purpose column, I recite the Michigan earned sick time. And this policy does not affect full-time employees providing sick time as described elsewhere in policies or the employee handbook. So you've accepted, obviously, that we don't have to address that.
But we
full-time.
also just want to make sure that this is carried over, but it's not a payout.
That is already.
That's already
there,
addressed
and
in there.
It is addressed in just a second,
And that's
payment upon termination. You will not be paid for any unused accrued
Yeah.
sick leave when your employment ends.
Yeah.
And if you were to transfer within Gerrish Township from one place to the next, that you will retain, because you haven't lost your job, the accrued sick leave. Reinstatement of leave upon hire. If you separate from the organization and are rehired within 2 months, the organization would reinstate the previously unused and accrued sick time or sick leave. And of course, you can't retaliate when they go to use it. So I think it's covered. That I'm not sure I'm in love with the termination statement, but if, payment upon termination.
You will not be paid for any
You
unused
will not be
accrued,
paid for
and it uses the word accrued,
Yeah.
sick
And
leave.
you already have your exceptions that are set, so it doesn't affect your full-time people on any of their accruals. Or your part-time people on accruals. So it does.
No, it does. It's everybody but full-time.
So then you feel that the language is not correct in the exceptions. Because we part those people out and then we include part-time and we include full-time in that exception by simply, we have stated who is exceptions. And then therefore, if you're not in those exceptions, then you get it, which would be your part-time and your seasonal folks. Where it differs is part-time or your seasonal has that 2-month piece. Your part-time doesn't. They continue to have an employment job here, part-time or not.
Right.
And when I look at that, I look out at the fire department who has a myriad. I still say they're just employees. I hate to say just, but they're employees. Regardless of how you classify them in your use of them internally, they're still an employee. Whether they're paid on call, whether they're part-time medics, part-time whatever, part-time is still an employee. All I'm looking for is what do you want to say in here? Because they do give you room in here by policy, whether you're going to allow an accrual or in the accrual, whether you are going, the township just needs to make its decision, and the township means all of us.
I have no problem though with everything you said. The only thing I would like to just have in there is a clarification on the rule regarding the 2 months. If you're departed for 2 months.
So you want me
And
to
then
take,
start- Because that could apply to even a part-time person that left for some.
Well, that's stated with you can't start using it until you've been here 120 days.
No, but let's say we have a part-time person.
Mhm.
And let's say that they leave for 4 months for whatever reason. And then they come back after 4 months. Then what?
They've been gone for over 2 months.
So we need to put that in here.
so employers are not, do we make a disclaimer statement? Employers are not required to restore or maintain a sick bank for any employee who has been separated for 2 or more months. Period.
Exactly.
Period.
Where are you at? Where are you putting that?
Is
This comes
that
from
may
the
apply to you
11th,
guys with some of your people. Huh?
this comes from the 11th hour.
No, but the
How do we give them their sick time? Do they call and say, hey, we have a call going on right now?
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you had a person that worked for you and then left for 3 months, 4 months, and then came back, are we gonna be carrying over whatever accrual there was, or we start over again? And I think it's by the law, you start over again.
So I can insert
I
that.
mean, if somebody
in-
takes a leave of absence. and
I
let's-
know, but just because they don't work doesn't mean they're on a leave of absence either. Just because they don't respond to a call or
I'm
whatever.
not talking about responding to call, I'm talking about they're literally separated for several months.
Yeah, we haven't experienced that.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
So listen,
you gotta put the what ifs in there, and I think that 2 months needs to be put in.
so
there.
what if I use the 11th hour language, which says employers are not required to restore or maintain a sick bank for any employee who has been separated for 2 or more months. So even if the employee is rehired more than 2 months later, their sick bank can be reset to 0 and the employee must wait another 120 days. Is that, and put it under
I
the
think that covers it.
exceptions
Does that sound
section,
good?
under the see the exceptions, a second paragraph.
Yep.
To include that language, does that satisfy? By the way, folks, I apologize for having to do this. There is literally no policy guidance out there. You're grabbing everybody's and looking at a bunch of different, yet to be litigated, yet to be whatever, on an 11th hour bill that was compromised with both Republicans and Democrat there's no guidance.
And it's still threatening to come back and change it again.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
And so for today, then, I'm hearing no intent, I'm hearing intent to carry over as long as it meets the 2 month, those other provisions. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I'm
All right,
good
I
with
think
that.
I can adjust the policy and the acknowledgement
Okay,
forms that go with that to bring back next month.
okay.
And I gotta guess that you guys are using an ancillary system of somehow to
Yes.
track it, because I know our
That
current
belongs to the clerk.
Yeah,
software doesn't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, there's
Have
probably,
to.
there may be software out there that nobody's ever purchased at the township level. I do know that police department has a Breeze software, solution that you can put in and it calculates all of it for you. It's also a scheduling software. It's all.
mhm, right, it's a whole complete.
It's a
yeah.
full, complete piece that tracks everything. It's been a good double check
Yeah.
to your office for the Cogitate payroll
Yeah.
system when those are, because that's a pretty cumbersome piece. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not that you couldn't, but it just hasn't been done. So, and I asked you guys, are you ready for this
Mhm.
operationally?
We're doing it.
Okay.
We've been doing it.
So if you
over
guys will give me next month, May, to bring that back at a corrected set of documents for approval? Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, very good. I think I got my walking orders. Thank you.
I gotta go grab my folder for this next bit, not the seasonal
Please,
employees,
Uh,
operational.
10:15,
paperwork
let's take a
first.
5-minute break.
Okay.
So we can do that. 10:15, we'll adjourn for a bathroom break and for her to get that. to continue on in the, let the record reflect, we're back in at 10:19. Thank you for the quick break, everybody. And so we're on to where we left off, which is number 8. I had put it on here because I wanted to find out operationally. As you know, we're working hard behind the scenes on the ESTA pieces and the associated paperwork, and all of that gives us the opportunity. Previously, when seasonal employees were hired in the township, they never were formally put on a piece of paper to indicate that they were indeed a seasonal employee with the April 15th, October 15th.
I don't know that that's a true statement.
It's not? I've
I-
never been showed anything.
I haven't done it since I've been here. I
Okay.
have seen years back where
Okay.
it had been
And
done.
you can't find the forms because I asked. So
I have the forms.
you do now.
Anyways,
You didn't have it before. Anyways, moving forward. So this particular bullet is, Michelle, how many of our seasonal employees have indicated they are coming back to us, both marina, park attendant, whatever we have. We determined we had about 16 or 17 seasonal employees. I think 17 and 19 now. That's it. That's interesting. When I asked for my state of township, the rest were 17, so I don't know where 2 more came in.
because she's including Cindy and Mitch and
What's the target?
But
we're trying to
anyways.
get?
Anyways,
How many are we supposed to be having?
those seasonal, that's what I'm getting through. Lynn says 19 here. And so I need to know how many have come in off of your letters to be able to properly sign.
6,
paper.
including the marina manager.
So we're at 6 right now. So I personally have reached out to a couple of them and I've got no response back whatsoever from any of them on a telephone call and the like. And so we have 6 and employees, and I know people like to watch us on YouTube after the fact a lot. If there's any of those seasonals that are out there, you need to come into the township and see the clerk, you sign your proper paperwork before you're going to be able to collect to move forward and be employed and collect your paycheck. Basically.
These were sent out March 14th.
I was going to ask you. So that's all I wanted today was to see. Board, we obviously were at 6 and there's there's 19 according to her list over here. And as always, I know with the marina, they've used some college kids. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. And so we have no idea what the reasonable expectation is and for people coming back.
Not a lot of college kids.
Until the day of. Well, they did.
There's a handful of college kids.
That causes some of the turnover is where I was going with it. So there's some work to be done when people come back or expect to come back. I don't know how anybody notified the township in the past, but there needs to be a proper notification. That's what this is about. So that we can plan our schedules as well. So number 9. Does any board member have any other comment about that?
No.
No. Okay. Number 9, I sent you when we were doing budget numbers and predications, we put in our technology budget because it was behind in replacement of many things. But one of the things identified very early on was a server that needs to be replaced here in the building. Got in touch with Chris at Kodiak, our IT. And when we initially got a quote, it was like $8,700 to replace the server. And when he emailed me, he said, hey, if we can get a, wink and a nod here, they can get us one for $6,476 labor included. And so I sent an email on March 19th and said, hey, obviously it's on our list for April 1, and we would like to take advantage of that kind of savings. Since then, I've emailed twice. I've gotten nothing back of an acknowledgement of that email, but he could be on vacation. I don't know. So hopefully this is good and they'll honor my March 19th to hold that
It
price.
actually says through April 17th. It's valid.
Oh, yeah, it does.
But that's not what the email said.
I get it.
I know, I'm just saying, I
But
got
it'd be
you.
nice to have hey, yeah, I got your email.
I understand. Not everybody checks their emails when they go on vacation.
So can I have a question?
You are what you are.
Yeah.
Your dedication is what it is.
Well,
This is for the server, but I know we got workstations that
Yes.
we're also gonna schedule.
Yep.
mhm.
'Cause like ours is, mine's 19 and
Yes,
I think
mine is
Mary's
too.
is 18.
Mhm.
Yeah, the mice are
Brian's too.
turning inside of them.
Yeah.
And also Windows 10 for support expires in October of this year.
And I think
Fire
we've been
services,
getting
you
error
know that?
messages. Cogitates keeps telling us we've got to update
Update your, right,
that server.
your guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, that is here. I would like to get that on the, I guess, agenda. On Tuesday to authorize the actual contracting of that work to be done with Kodiak. And once I had the discussion with Chris when we initially talked that we'll get the server up and then we'll start associating new computers to each one of those, because every time you go to replace a desktop, if you will, there's always issues. And I don't want to get such an overwhelming issue that it's, we'll do a process, I guess what I'm saying, logical. But I did count when I was looking at budget stuffs last fall, that there were 5, I believe, in here that are 2019 desktops, and they need to be replaced. Anybody have any problem with me putting a motion to the agenda on the 8th to accept this quote and authorize this work?
Good.
Let's do it.
Okay. I will get a motion together for that one. Also, as a further thought process for you, I know, Jim, when you and I were sat down on the revenue pieces and then the expenditures, we did technology. Also in the back of my mind for the future, we have got to reduce the number of paperwork copies and whatever in this place. And so I would like, once we do the desktops, I would like to see what kind of money's left over in that line that we budgeted, and maybe look at some small, what I call laptops for the board members, so that instead of having a stack of everything in front of us, we can actually have a 21st century product in front of us that we don't have to print everything out.
Or even a tablet.
Or a tablet, I don't care, whatever solution that allows you to be able to just look at that rather than having. Currently, right now, our clerk's office and the past clerk's office are making copies and like constantly. And I can't help but think there's the amount of paper that we go through in here in the year that I've been here is, there's certainly some recoup in that area for sure.
Sure.
And wear and tear on a copy and a fax and a whatever, or not a fax, but a scanner and all the rest of that. So anyways, once we get those priorities, server, desktop, are you opposed to me looking into tablets or
No,
I think you're going to wind up, you got to have something that's Microsoft based, because everything around here is Microsoft. You can't wind up with.
You can buy,
Or,
I bought a tablet a couple of years ago. You buy them for a couple $100.
Yeah, they're not much. Yeah, they're not much. And I think they could serve an extensive amount of paper
Mhm.
reduction here.
absolutely.
They pay for themselves within.
Yeah. Right,
Paper
right. It's just the
cheap.
volumes are unbelievable. And then it winds up being shredding for us.
Paper is not cheap.
And so I'd like to, you guys, am I getting a kind of a after
Yeah.
I just want to take it in stages,
Yeah.
swallow what we can. I don't want to, we want to make sure we're good stewards of the money
Yes.
as well. So, okay, very good. I will move forward in that type of a progress. Number 10, is I had a resident who contacted me back in the fall of 24, who is looking for a dead end sign at Nuthatch and East Higgins Lake Drive. So I'll take you back. Last year, Nuthatch and East Higgins Lake Drive, the road commission was contracted to go ahead and put a sign up there at East Higgins Lake Drive. And of course, what you got going on in there is what used to be very part-time, and it's on uncertified roads. And what you have people coming up and now living in those homes and trying to describe how to get a furniture place or anything else or deliveries to their houses, it was darn near impossible. So the board last year authorized the sign for Nuthatch East Higgins. Now, the way that process works is it's uncertified. So the road commission's policy is they don't pay for anything on uncertified. And so the process is they refer them back to us, and then we have to say, yeah, we'll do it, but we're paying for that sign to go up and properly. And you don't, I hate, we don't want to see people nailing signs up on trees and whatever there. That doesn't get us out of the problem we got with uncertified to begin with. So that individual, I explained to him if he'd like to pay for that in the fall with no consideration to the township, we do budget for about a half a dozen of those things a year to look at. So the question is does this new board makeup wish to be to look to satisfy this and honor a dead end sign and pay for it, obviously, with township funds? I offered he could do it, they could do it, but they'd have to pay for it because we're out of money last year, and we were for that line. So what's your pleasure?
I just pulled it up on my phone because I was trying to figure out.
Not familiar
My
either.
phone shows that as Lincoln, not Hatch, the road going in there.
Nuthatch in East Higgins is over on just south of Maplehurst. And if you were going north on East Higgins Lake Drive, before you get to Maplehurst, there's the section that the subdivision. It's kind of the backside of Eagle Drive, all of those non-certified.
For 122 Nuthatch where he said he lived.
Yeah, correct.
This road is labeled on the map.
Yeah, well, that's wrong.
Okay, so that is the road we're talking about.
No, you're too high. The road is back here. Okay, so south of Maplehurst. And it is they are what I call uncertifieds that were never cut all the way through.
So it's not even showing up.
No, because they're not.
So
Yeah, that's
Google's
correct.
not, I know.
That Google won't help you.
Okay.
How many homes are on this stretch of road that you were speaking of?
Well, for where they're requesting, it would, you wind up with anything that would be, if you go in Nuthatch and then there's crossroads that go in, there are literally folks now 2 tracks that go back because they're uncertified.
Can't do that.
And yeah, and so what's happening in obviously is now that you signed East Higgins Lake Drive and they can, all those delivery companies, everybody can find it. You go and you hit the woods.
So is this considered seasonal or something with the road commission?
It is.
Do they not plow it in the winter?
Yeah, it is. It's seasonal and they do not plow it because they don't spend any money. To quote the road committee, they don't spend any money on uncertified roads.
Is the residents there, they're still interested in contributing towards this, or are they just looking?
This fellow said, hey, no, we'll wait until the township could consider if they'd pay for it.
And do we know how much it is?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
One of those things, about 100 and
They're more than we think they are.
about
Yeah.
170,
Yeah.
probably somewhere in there, 175, because you got to pay union wages for the road
Yeah, you
commission
gotta pay for
and
them to put it up.
the sign itself and any post that it would get put on.
Yeah.
And what's the precedent, Ben?
The precedent is previous boards have always done this. They have always approved these signs because, and I think part of it is because they're there. You can't deny that they're there. People bought on them knowing they were
Road, not necessarily this, but road name signs. Names
Street
of
signs?
street signs, not necessarily.
Yeah, no, well, there's been other signs that have been approved. by
Yeah.
The previous boards and it goes back many moons.
How many residents are down that road?
That's what I asked.
I would say that probably affected maybe a half a dozen. When you include the next T intersection going this way. And then as you go off of Nuthatch from East Higgins Lake Drive heading towards the lake. Okay. You hit an intersection, obviously, and I think it might be Eagle or yeah, Eagle, I think it is. And so the general area, I visited it down there, and there are, like I said, about a half a dozen residences now that they have people in. And so that's why what I shall I say,
Isn't most of that like dead end down through there?
Oh, they
Like
all-
lake, it all ends at the lake.
listen, when you literally drive Nuthatch, you get to Eagle and you can't get from Eagle
Yeah.
to Sparrow or any of those down
Yeah.
there because there's woods there.
Here's my loaded question then. How many other ones are gonna come forward?
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can't.
Well, that
you
should have
can't.
been addressed 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
No.
Because it's up to us if you're gonna say that our board is simply not going to do those things. If they want to pay for themselves, we can. That's up to.
We can't do it for everybody. So how can we do it for one?
Well, currently, right now, GFL is trying to service a bunch of our uncertified roadways. Down through there, and our expectations of our citizens is the government will take care of it. Unfortunately, in those, especially those uncertified areas, they have road names. It's the road commission, because they receive no funding. In their defense, they receive no funding, therefore they spend no money on those, and it's easy in
Who
their
determines
policy to
that?
send them back to the township.
Who
So
determines
the
that?
road commission does have a right of way in there though, right?
It's uncertified, seasonal. And as I said to you, their policy, because I've heard it over and over again, is they spend no money on those.
Who determines that?
Who determines what?
That a road is that seasonal paper road doesn't get any money.
The plat and the road commission, based upon what they get funds for on roads. And so their policy has always been, you want something on there, if the township's willing to grant it, we'll contract with the townships to put those signs up. Even if they wanted to pay for it themselves, what would happen is they have to, the way the policy for the road commission is they would have to come to the township and they would have to pay the township, and we would have to say, we're okay with this and vendor the payment to the road commission. Road commission doesn't deal with them person to person.
Right.
They put the township in
Yeah.
between.
I know that.
That is why you have the request.
Right.
I just want to know how to respond to this fella, whether or not this board is going to help them with that, with township funds, or are we going to then now start making a statement that on any seasonal roads, or I should say uncertified, and we aren't paying for signs either. They can pay for them and then we'll handle the paperwork in between, apparently, because the policy for the road commission puts us in the middle. I'm sure they never asked us, but
I'm wondering why there's 7 houses divided by $175. I mean, why don't everybody kick in whatever
Well, and
they,
that's it. Is it everybody feel this way, or is
Yeah.
it just one person, or?
well, because he's at the end and and I get it, that would be annoying.
when I walked down there, in that particular area down there were many people that were telling me that they wanted their signs and things like that.
Oh.
Because, well, they bought an uncertified, well, want obviously the rights to what would be certified for everybody else.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like you want your privacy and you want those but then you want these amenities that come from having a certified road. And my only concern right now is not the couple $100, it's the
Precedent.
exposure that we put ourselves to.
Yeah.
For how many other
$5.
ones that are out there. You haven't had a conversation with this person
Not since the fall.
since last fall, so this is just something that's.
I'm putting it out there. I want some kind of direction from you folks as to what I have to be able to talk to this fellow about. That's not a.
And we don't
decision I
know
make.
of this ever being done by this township before,
Oh, it's been done.
buying
In my
a dead end.
Yes, it's been done before in my 40 some odd years of seeing boards operate. It has been done.
Doesn't mean it's right.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Every board has every board has its rights to decide what it wants. to
And
do.
again, it goes back to
What you were.
Where does it stop,
Where
you
does it
know?
stop? Yeah.
What makes one right over another? You know, how can you say yes to this one and no to this one?
So,
Send out letters to the, well.
so my
they-
job is to submit for this individual, and I give him back, I'm hearing is that if they want to pay for it, we'll process the paperwork for the road commission. But I would ask you that if you do that, you can't get inconsistent on us 3 months down the road when it's a different subdivision, which is what has occurred in over the many moons.
And that particular neighborhood is a maze of.
Uncertified. They don't go through. There are 2 tracks running north and south. I call them sins of the past, loaded with them. And of course, like I said, we get put in the middle of it. And so we need to, you know, I mean, what's the board's will is, and if you want to table this, we'll talk about it in May. I'm happy to do that too, but I just want to get it on your radar.
I'd like some more time to think
Yeah,
about this. I,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
my gut feeling is not, you know, is still, you know, if you want that, then you should pay for it. Because basically you have a glorified private drive is that you're all sharing. That's it, in essence,
Way to put it.
what you created when you went and built on a non-certified road. And they're really, in essence,
is.
wanting that to be treated like a private drive.
How about I do this? We'll
Not a public
agenda
road.
that for May.
I
Give
agree.
And
y'all
if you
some
want that,
time.
if you want that
It's not like
benefit,
it's a
then you
public
pay
road.
for it. Just like
Right.
I have a private drive sign on my driveway.
There you go.
So that's my logic.
Yep.
Not necessarily the wisdom of Solomon, but you know, that's what I got.
Yeah, I'm gonna May agenda this.
Okay.
At the work session, I will get a hold of this individual by the email that he emailed me, and I will tell him if he'd like to come to the May. To plead his own case, he can do that.
Well, it's just, it's no different than, you know, the guy who wants the no parking signs up. You know,
You're right.
That's what
Everybody's
this-
got
I, you know, I think if, you know, if you broker a deal with him and he goes around his neighbors and says, yeah, well, I'll kick in and the done deal. We don't
Right.
need to bring it back to the board. Just
Right.
handle it.
I just need to let him know that that's gonna be the likely outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe before you talk.
'Cause I
to
know
him,
you- it's great.
Get the
Thank you
price.
for dumping my supervisor office under the.
Handle it.
split. I just want to make sure that I'm happy to deliver when I was in a no position for 42 years. I mean, I can deliver no. What I can't do is deliver no and have everybody else undermine me with a yes.
Right.
But you might want to find out in general what the cost would be from the road commission before you
I
talk
can-
to them, so that
You can do
you
that.
got a number to give them.
Yeah,
I will work with
absolutely.
that. I will do that, but and it may, so you don't really care whether it gets on the agenda or not. You're perfectly comfortable with putting me under the bus.
I'm
Yeah, just take
perfectly,
care of it, I think.
I'm
are the words you
perfectly
used.
happy letting you handle the situation.
Okay.
You don't have to crawl under the bus to do it.
Moving on.
Oh,
For the record, I would have never allowed the practice to occur 20 years ago, just for the record. All right, so we're then on to number 11, which is just an update. Jim Osling is vacationing, much needed vacation, and I'm hoping he's doing well. I just would like to know, because for the public and for, again, the YouTube folks that like to watch after the fact, Health of Higgins Lake update, number of applicants only, Michelle,
I believe it's 29.
well, Mary Jo has the folder, so.
Yeah.
29?
29, I believe.
Okay.
miscounted one way or the other. I'm one.
But
Okay, so for and that is for entire applicants. It is not for either a steering committee or a sub.
no,
The
Right.
entire, I can tell you just as an update for the public. Jim Osling, as organized as he is, has already got everything down on a spreadsheet, trying to mix and match and see what we can do to take advantage of the most of folks' talents as well. And then the plan is once he gets back, we will go through those. When I say we, it'll be a committee of 2 people, not a full board meeting to debate the wisdom of who should, shouldn't. And there'll be probably a one mass appointment at one board meeting here, probably in May, I'm guessing now. To get that thing up and moving and running and everybody to know what, be contacted. At that time, Jim, I think we'll be looking at appointing Jim as a liaison to that Health of Higgins Lake Committee formally.
Jim Osling.
Yes. Well, it could be you if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're
enough-
both
I
Jims.
got
I
enough
thought
on
that
my
was
plate.
Jim-O and Jimmy.
There's no, what do you mean there's enough on your plate?
Jimmy,
You
Jimmy.
just threw me under the bus. Now you want me to throw
Jimmy.
you under the bus?
I didn't throw-
All right, number 12, water softener, quote, and other plumbing valve issues. So we passed all our heavy metals tests. This is just the gift that won't go away. And to address the high iron content we have in this building, as we've looked at a solution for water softening, I did send to you folks a quote, if you will, for that. And that is, it'll be $3,400 to get us the type of softener we need. And so the current proposal would be to replace the ionizer on the wall in there. We will be keeping the filtrations that are there. They'll be after the water softener. In discussions of this and tracking back, where are we getting contaminated at? Every time the fire department uses its 10,000 gallon underground water situation, it literally, we've tracked it back and figured out there is no proper check valve or otherwise. And it literally takes the what I'll call non-potable water, pushes it through our entire system, including our current ionizer, and it needs to be isolated. That's part of the icky tests that we were getting for a great period of time. It's old plumbing, folks. It's that 54 or 55-year-old building. That being said, so we're going to have to separately replace and get a check valve, and there is a gate valve, which is a major valve there that is broke. Also, another one of those old, and it's a black pipe valve, and it needs to be replaced. So Ryan from Savage has looked at it and is going to give me a rough ballpark so I know what we're talking about with you folks. Again, these are obviously things we're by bill we're sharing with the fire department. So 34 becomes 1,700 to our general budget and the other to their fire EMS. So that being said, we'll be looking for Tuesday a motion to allow us to to authorize the water softener quote at 3,400, which is below our having to bid pieces there at $10,000. Anybody opposed to us putting that on there to authorize to continue that work? And it also only makes sense, and I'll bring it with me if I have it by then, to replace those two valves. Christy and I met with Ryan again yesterday in order to give them what they need, softened water, things like the things that they need on their end. He's going to let me know what we're talking about, and then we'll figure out. I'm sure it's not $10,000 again, but this is just side stuff in this 54-year-old building, water ickiness. So you good with that on the agenda if I make a motion for that?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm.
We won't have a motion for the money authorization for the valves, but I can't think those valves are going to be tons of money.
I think you were referring to their backflow prevention
Yes,
valve.
backflow prevention.
They're not
Yeah.
told that.
Yeah,
that's-
one's a valve and one's going to be a
And
backflow.
I will say I don't know the gentleman, or the company, but the price on here seems very.
Oh, it's very reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get a motion to that effect as well, for Tuesday. Well, Susan, CMAC, I don't know whether you're asleep or whether you're there, but we're on to number 13, which is a 5-year Parks and Recs plan. The review, all board members got a copy from Susan of that 5-year plan moving forward. We did not print pages for every board member, so please take your time in your email package to, I've looked it over, but look it over. Susan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Nice to see you all. I was hoping that you would have had a chance to look it over, or at least by Tuesday, because what I'd like to do in your next meeting is to pass a motion to place a notice of public, a period of public review and comment. So let me just give you just a couple sentences of background. We began updating this last summer, and the Parks and Rec Committee selected NEMCOG to help as the consultant to update the Gerrish Rec Plan according to the proper standards for DNR and the specifications of Gerrish Township. And this document will be used to guide Parks and Rec decisions over the next several years to assure that whatever's done with the parks are aligning with township priorities. So I just want to make mention of one thing on the cover of this, actually. Besides doing a rec plan being a helpful exercise to park priorities, it is a requirement. I think you guys all know, and we can share this with public comments if we need to at other times. That's a requirement that a rec plan be on file with the DNR in order to be considered for DNR-based grants. So the document is dated 2026 to 2030. So that 5-year period there, that will be the period for which the DNR will consider the plan in effect for grant purposes, even though we're authorizing it in 25. It won't be in time to submit a grant in calendar year 25. So we're just pushing it to the next year 26. So we'll get a full 5 years out of it. This completed draft version now needs to be made available for public review for a minimum of 30 days. It's okay with me if we go a little longer and put it out there for public comment. Whenever you make a motion to do so, put a notice in the resorter. But I think we should probably hold it until early June and have the public hearing perhaps in conjunction with the June 10th board meeting. We don't have quite enough time between now and to get it to the May meeting, where I don't have a full 30 days in there. So we'll give it a little over 30 days and we'll do it in the June board meeting. That's my recommendation at this point. Okay. So we would put a public notice in resorter saying where the information is posted. For instance, on the website, maybe put a hard copy in the office. It'll also be posted on NEMCOG's website so people can review that.
Susan, is there a specific motion language from the state that they're requesting on this first phase of getting publication out there? Or is it just a generic piece?
There is, there's not specific language. I do have a draft of what a public notice would look like. I could pull it up on my screen and show it to you, but it's basically just saying Gerrish Township is making this available. Here's where you can get it. If you have any questions or comments, give them to blank. And that's what I'd like to ask you guys about. The clerk at Gerrish Township. I'm fine if you put my name in there. If people want to give comments on the rec plan directly to Parks and Rec Committee, I will take that. NEMCOG is suggesting that public can give comments to NEMCOG, but I think that's it makes an unnecessary step and a delay in getting the information to us. So,
I think just for Brian's benefit, all I think we need to do on Tuesday night is the motion would be to authorize the plan. If we're all in agreement with it, they'll authorize the plan to go for public comment. I think that's what you're looking for Tuesday night.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That is correct. Yes, thank you. For Tuesday night, it's simply a motion to make it available for public review. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm good with the June 10th, type of thing there where we come to that meeting or I mean, we come back to the
The
meeting.
public hearing.
And by then, and we'll have it publicized out there for quite a period of time, actually, at that point. So, I mean, whenever after Tuesday, I can get it out there whenever. So,
Yep.
okay, perfect. Any board member have any question of Susan on the Parks and Recs plan? Okay.
I think we're all set with the number part of it, Susan. Or-
You and I are? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I reviewed it and it looked good to me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll make sure that that's on the agenda Tuesday night as well, for a motion.
Thanks, Susan, for doing this, especially since it's a volunteer.
I think
A
it
lot
came
of
out really
work.
nice. I think NEMCOG did a nice job and we did provide a lot of input to that. And I appreciate the people on the board who also gave me bits and nips along the way of information to hone this, but I think it came out pretty nice.
Okay, very good. Susan, when are you back?
Targeted to be back May 19th.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, very good. If you have no other questions, then Susan probably wants to get back to the warrant.
It's record hot here today, actually.
Yes, it
Sorry to
is. I
say.
hear it.
Yeah,
How hot?
yeah.
How
Very
hot
nice.
is it?
It's gonna
I
be
do, I wanna
93
know.
today.
Oh, that's too
93.
hot. Go soak it up.
Get a sunburn for me.
Me too.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Susan. All right.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank
On
you.
number 14, which is two parts actually, but one of them is that Michelle, how many actual applications to the reconditioned Parks and Recs Board do we have?
That's a great question.
Say 4.
We have 4. I'm looking to for the 4 that have followed all the directions, I'm looking to get that 4 of that at least gives it a quorum anyways. And as people trickle in, that I guess, I don't know. I've called them all, left them all messages, sometimes talked to them personally. And if we have 4, who are those 4 at this point? Because I'd like to maybe Tuesday for a motion. And then we do, and Susan, if you can, you're still there and hear me.
Yes.
Sorry, I excused you to the sunshine, but we obviously this first time appointment with this committee, we have to have some, I think it's 3-2-1s for appointments for years in order to get the 7 people. Mary Jo, we can handle reappointing her.
Well, she's one of those numbers, so.
Here's one of the numbers.
Yeah.
So
I
we're
don't
at
know.
3 then. So we have
Susan's
3.
Probably one.
You
I
got
would-
Susan, Mary
Okay,
Ellen.
but
Michelle, I thought you said there were
You're a voting
5.
4th.
Yeah.
You're a voting 4th.
Yes.
So it's quorum. So who do we have? Susan,
Mary Ellen
Mary Ellen O'Keefe,
and Dan Simon.
Ellen O'Keefe, Dan Simons.
Hmm.
Without the S, just Simon. It's actually, he
Simon?
says it's Simon. He says it's Simon, Simon.
Just one M? Okay, O-N. So
Yeah.
I would like to appoint those folks. And so Susan, talk to us a little bit about, I know we created the rules of 3-2-1 because eventually you'll be appointing them on off times. And so can you give us your comments on 3-2-1s?
I can, but before I do, I want to say too, so you just listed 3 names, Susan, Mary Ellen, and Dan Simon, but Mary Jo would be 4. And
Yes.
Michelle, did you mention, is Mitch a part of this story? Would he be a 5th?
Well, I'm not sure because he was actually, he didn't do this on his own. So I'm not sure how to answer that.
Well,
Did
did
he
he
fill that
do
in
it through his wife's email?
No,
I,
Mary Jo sent it to him.
Oh, yeah, I mailed him the application and then he sent it back, obviously, huh?
Yeah,
Well, but apparently, but you're confused about it,
I'm confused.
Michelle, it does.
yeah, I'm not.
well, I'm also a little bit confused. as to whether, does any question need to be asked of, he is a seasonal employee, or was, I don't know whether he intends on coming back. He hasn't sent any paperwork. I called that number. I got a message. He hasn't talked to me.
Okay, so this is not a board app. This is not,
This is
we're
somebody,
talking about
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec Committee.
the committee, not the paid attendant or something.
Well, he.
No, but-
No, but the question is do we want the paid attendant
employee.
on the Parks and Rec Committee? Township wide, what's your thought processes, about that piece?
Well, I know, Mitch has been on it for the last couple of years, and because he's hands-on, his information is helpful. That doesn't mean that Joe Blow wouldn't be just as helpful, but I think, Susan might have better
it does.
comment, but
I think
I
it
think it's
does mean
helpful.
that Joe Blow wouldn't be as helpful. Mitch being as close as he is to the park, or traditionally as close as he's been to the park, his comments are very instrumental in what was going on in that particular park. And he also is helpful working in the other parks too. He's not just focused only on the Carlos Park. So it has been helpful to have him on the committee. Before he joined the committee, my first year, he wasn't on the committee. We actively reached out to get his comment on various things that might have gone on in that park anyway. So it could be done either way. I certainly don't mind him being on the committee. If he wasn't on the committee and he was still involved with the park, I would still engage him as appropriate.
Okay.
So to that point, I haven't answered your question about 321 yet, but I was kind of thinking in my head that there were 5 people rather than the 3 you
We
just
have-
mentioned.
There's room for 6, and then by ex officio, Mary Jo is our appointment from the board for the 7th. As the board has approved the reconditioned, reworked Parks and Recs committee that got to 9 on us somehow.
Yeah.
So
9.
So I guess I'm looking, I'm hearing, okay, I did hear one thing though, that I don't really not sure. And of course, once again, it's because I haven't been involved truly inside the township. And if he's rehired this year, or if he wants to come back this year, once that communication is obtained, he is the Gerrish Township park attendant. But I heard you say that he's working in other parks. How does that happen?
No, what I meant was he doesn't take care of only Carlos. He has helped us do some things in the other Gerrish parks. Like in his capacity as a volunteer on the Parks Committee, for instance, he has supported some of the activities that we needed to do at the
Municipal
pickleball
park.
courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I meant.
Of course, he brings the trouble, he's an employee and he brings I'm not sure how you can make a break between when you do work as a civilian versus doing work as an already employee from what you were authorized to do. And you come over here and you injure yourself doing odd work at the community park here.
Mhm.
Are you a civilian or are you an employee?
Well, in that capacity, like she said, wouldn't that be a civilian?
Great argument, maybe.
Yeah.
Not sure it holds up legally, but it's a great
Yeah.
argument. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm
Right.
just trying, once again.
Yeah.
There are so many blurred lines
Yeah.
and we
Right.
have opportunities to unblur lines and if we should be unblurring them, we need to unblur them. Or you continue on doing what you're doing until the bad event happens.
Well, you could still have that. I could go volunteer with
That's
that
correct,
committee
you
and
could.
get hurt.
Yeah, but
That's
Yeah, you could if you volunteer within the township in which you're employed.
right.
You can as a Rotarian, you can't do things like that.
Well,
So,
I guess.
if you're
just-
willing to, I don't care.
Well, I'll just give you what I'm gathering here. My thoughts is number one, I suspect that there's probably somebody else in Susan's head that she's thought of that hasn't applied that she'd like to apply that may have already served, or maybe you've got somebody you thought of. Having an employee on the board could be a conflict. I think that his information is very useful, as you said, and you
Agreed.
could have that useful information whether you're a voting board member or not.
Right.
I think being a paid employee and also being a voting member of the board could create some conflicts, and I think that probably it's best not to have the same, but I'm not against it either. But the usefulness of his information and of anybody's is, they don't have to be on the board to attend a meeting and
Correct.
provide that or
Right.
volunteer. The other issue of liability, I guess that'd have to just be spelled out or addressed, because he could have that come up on a lot of different things for activities.
No, it doesn't come up. You'll cover it.
Yeah.
How it works out. That's how it works out.
That's a good point because, in the summertime, Russ, marine manager, he's here. Letting us know how the marine is run. So it's no different than Mitch coming to our Parks and Rec Committee meetings.
Yeah, he could
He
report.
doesn't have to be on it.
I think it just,
But yeah,
but that's, I haven't been here long enough to see what's historically happened. And I may agree with it, I may not agree with it, but I just, in general, usually I don't like to see a board member
either.
and an employee on the same entity.
I don't know.
But that's just me.
right.
Okay, well, so Susan, since you're
Yes.
the board current chair, are you looking to be the chair again? Within? Is
I will
that-
continue. I
I
will
don't like
continue
to
in that
assume
role.
anything.
I want to point of clarification on this conflict of a paid employee and a voting member. Does that not apply to the ex officio position of Mary Jo? Or can she vote?
Yeah, she's ex
Also-
officio. She can vote. She's authorized by the board officially to be that representative.
Okay, super.
Question.
So I guess I'm still not clear about whether we'll move forward with Mitch on the committee or not. I think what you're saying is some people have a conflict because of that paid employee. If he in fact does that, I'll probably, quite honestly, you guys, I'll probably try to reach out to Mitch and speak to him. We've talked a couple times over the winter, but I'll try to see what his thinking is for this upcoming year.
You've talked to him over the winter?
Yeah, we traded a couple emails on some park stuff.
Okay, very good. Be nice if you'd contact the township board then at some point.
Okay.
That's my comment on that.
It was a text, not a talk, but I hear you.
I'd take a text too, but
So yes, I will maintain the position of chair of this board, if that is fine with everybody else. And if I could comment on the 3-2-1 situation that you mentioned a
Yep.
minute ago, Chief. In my opinion, quite honestly, this committee is not as formally aligned. And I appreciate the optimism of Mr. Anderson, who assumed that there's other people that we want on this committee. We have tried to get other people on this committee. I actually did reach out to somebody this winter. We do not have people running to join this committee. I think we're lucky if we get 5 or 6 people. And this thing about assigning them 3, 2, or 1 year terms, I think if you assign somebody a 2-year term or a 3-year term, they might not do it. They don't
That's
want to
fine.
make that big a commitment.
that's fine. Then we appoint just like we do anywhere else and they finish the term.
You
1
make
year
them
at a
all one
time?
term?
What you did, the only reason why the 3-2-1 was there for 6 positions is so that when they come due again, if those people want off, anyone can resign at any moment. And,
For
this
sure.
board deals with that on a regular basis we just had a Roscommon Area District Library person that retired. And so we appointed somebody till December of 25. It's what we do.
Okay.
And this one is no different. If somebody takes a 3-year appointment and decides after 1 year they want to be done, then they notify the board that they want to be done, and then the board seeks out other folks to come on, and they get appointed for the 2 years until that position becomes
I see.
available again. So it's just a formality of how it's done. And I realize everybody here in this township is used to whatever happens, happens, but until I'm gone, I'd like to see some proper stuff being done. It just creates
Okay.
bad feelings. It creates everything, and it's it's where we're at right now. I'm begging for communication with seasonal employees, which is unacceptable. And we've got to get, this is no different. You are a board authorized committee. It doesn't say you're a board, just go do what you want to do.
I think, and I just, on the staggered, staggered terms, I think that the concept is that you just don't want annually the potential of everybody thinking that their term is up and everybody at that 1 year decides to leave because they didn't renew it. I think that's the only reason that's even been considered. But, Brian's right, you could have everybody, each individual could say, I'll sign up for the 3 years, but I may not stay for the 3 years. And but at least the reasonable expectation is that's what I signed up for, whether it's 2 years or whatever.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
don't want anybody thinking that is a negative thing, but
I
and
don't, I don't.
I do get what you're saying about the fact that it's hard to find good volunteerism. There's a lot of critics out there about how you should do things, but then when it comes time to rolling up your sleeves, there's not as many people standing around.
I have had people say to me, I appreciate the parks and I'll volunteer if there's like a little task or a project that you want me to work on, but I can't commit to being on a committee.
Right.
So,
Again,
there's so but going back to the staggered, I don't feel strongly about how you do that with the 3-2-1. You got, you can give me 3 and Mary Ellen 2 and Dan 1 for now.
And do we have something for Mitch or don't we have something?
I do.
But it's for the committee, not the park manager, correct? I believe.
Well, actually,
Do you have a seasonal for him or is it permanent?
no.
Then you do have a park or you do have a,
What I have is the note that Mary Jo sent with the application for Parks and Rec. And as a side note, I think somewhere on there, as a side note,
where did this come from? Did he turn it in? How did it come in? Did he turn this in?
not
I
physically.
know there's a note on top, Mary Jo.
Yeah, did he mail it to me?
It says, hi, Mitch, this app is only for being on the PNR committee. But if you're interested in park manager again, I think you need to write separate request and mail this with whatever. How did this, you received it on March 14th or what mode?
To ask me that now would be a futile point. I don't recall. I marked it when I received it.
With that green thing on top?
No,
I saved that because it was on it. Yes.
Mitch left it on there. He mailed it to the office here, I believe.
So that's your note you wrote to?
Yes, I wrote that to
He
Mitch.
just left it on
He
there.
just left it on there.
So you have a valid request to be on the Parks and Recs committee from Mitch. Now, where does the board want to go with that? Is it your wish to go ahead and do that? Or is it your wish to not do that based upon the things that we've talked about? What's your wish?
This is, and I don't know all the history here, but I'm just going to say, if she's comfortable with them being on the committee, this is not a true board, it's a committee, okay?
Committee, yeah.
They don't make budgetary
That's correct.
decisions, they make budgetary recommendations. If she wants his input, she feels strong about it, I have no problem adding them to the committee.
Okay.
And then if he ends up being also the employee, I could live with that as well, if that's okay with that committee.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
Mary Jo, you're our ex officio. Do you feel the same way?
Right, and if he doesn't,
Okay.
I mean, the park is his front door.
Susan,
Yes,
your thought as a chair?
I am fine with Mitch being on this committee. I appreciate what you said, Jim. I
Okay,
would go with
so
it
we're
that
gonna-
way.
we'll look at Mitch Larson as a, we needed, what, I don't have it in front of me here.
You got the 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1.
I got a
so,
3-2-1,
whatever.
and so we needed 2 of each, right? It was 3, a 2, and a 1, right? On my sheet
Make it a 1.
for the park, that's what if it's a 2, let's do, because it's an employer-employee relationship, let's do a 1. And that'll give us an idea how well it works out.
Great.
Good? All right, so for
Great.
Tuesday night then, we're gonna have a motion for Mary to reappoint Mary Jo to PNR, Parks and Rec. We're going to do a motion for Susan C-Mac, 3, Mary Jo O'Keefe, 2, or Mary O'Keefe, excuse me. And then Dan Simon, 1, and Miss Larson, 1. That gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, and that's plenty to operate, and we'll see what else trickles in to try and fill that board for 7, or that committee of 7. Everybody good with that?
I'm good.
I'm good with it.
Are you, in the motion, do you want motion separately, or you want to just make one motion with all of it together?
I'm comfortable with the single motion.
One motion altogether. All right. All right, sounds good. All right, we're on to number 15, and it's the, once again, a review of a transport chair proposal for the township hall. It's $134.99. It's, we had a recent, piece here where we're taking somebody out on a office chair, not rather safely or otherwise, but we don't have anything in the hall for, and we are an aging community, so I just want you to tell me informally here, because it doesn't reach any thresholds. Are you all for this? Because I'll make it happen.
I think it's a
Operation.
good idea. They have something to,
Yep.
there's a lot of elderly people that come to my window and,
All right, I will get it ordered unless anybody's got any vehement want to discuss it for the next 20 minutes. All right, number 16, to the last that was added, which is, Jim Anderson will kind of walk us through, but for recently, just to frame it, the planning commission recently forwarded out a bunch of documents. You all got it in emails where they have, they've kind of battered about the short-term rental ordinance. And so it has not been reviewed by our attorney in any way, shape, or form. I've got a few questions, but most of them are just legalese, which I can do with the township attorney. Jim.
all right, so the short-term rental thing was given to the planning commission before I was elected in and appointed to that. So they have finished to a product which, they were instructed by the board to create a potential ordinance. That has now been given back to the board. I think the best process here would be at this point would be each of us making our own comments, maybe funneling them through Brian. And he's going to then also talk to the attorney to see if there's any potential issues from his perspective. And then as a board, we've got to decide if we want to move forward with this and then go through the process of the public hearings. Or if it's severe enough that there's some shortfalls, kick it back to the planning commission to have them make some other changes or recommendations. They, in their minds, this is off their plate until it comes back potentially or not from this board.
Okay.
There's two other items, actually, there's three items that are currently on their plate. Other, Jason's not here, but I know there was some issues that have come up with that related to the tower and the other, things, but the the other is the renewable ordinance, the renewable energy ordinance. We have discussed it. We've talked about the potential in the planning commission's eyes. This currently is not taking priority over the other items, and they'd like to focus on two items that are more precedent, which would be the master plan review and changes, which we're updating this next week, that, we've assigned the board within ourselves. We're going to try to tackle it over a several month period, taking in the first three chapters of that master plan and reviewing it and making some changes. The other one is the septic ordinance potential. Jim Osling came in representing, I guess, our board plus the Health of Higgins Lake to the Planning Commission and discussed what's going on with that. And, the impression is that this board would like the Planning Commission to investigate potential septic ordinances. And so I guess what I'm looking for from this board to go back to them is this the right priorities? Is this what you are looking for? If it's not, you need to tell me, because I'm the liaison, or tell Tom Barber, who's the president, what it is you'd like us to focus on. Right now, the focus is going to be on septic and master plan, renewable energy ordinance still there, but there's no applications. I personally think at some point we need to put something in place, but I think there's other things that are more
lowered.
pressing.
Yeah.
Brad's gone, so he can't
Yeah.
add to that.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
I agree. It's kind of changed. Its number of where it stands on.
Well, I saw on the other side of the lake, and I don't know why it's there, but somebody has a sign up that says no solar. And I don't know if that means somebody that's in Lyon Township, if that's,
No, I got one over on this side too, and they're just
or if
random.
that's got something to do with the Higgins
it's-
Township
I think it
potential.
said on state land, didn't it say that?
Yeah,
Oh,
as far as I know, there's no applications out there. If something was to, let's say somebody applied right now, there are avenues for us to then put in place a sub ordinance or address, the shortfalls. I think, and I explained a while back, the issue with the renewable energy ordinance. There was a big push, it still is, by MTA about doing what's called a CREO, which is an ordinance that's basically emulates what the state commission has. So basically, you do one of those if you were trying to streamline the process, and you'd collect the application fees and basically roll out whatever. It's a very general ordinance, which with no real stopping points from somebody, with setbacks and whatever. It's very general. I wouldn't recommend that. Personally, I think there's the next one level would be what's called a workable ordinance, which is basically taking that and then adding some stipulations like setbacks, height, whatever, to keep it so that it, let's say it was a solar farm, so that you don't have to see it, or let's say windmills, or, and I don't see, there's only three basic types of renewable energies that's out there that they're talking about. One is solar, one's wind, and the other is battery storage. There's absolutely no way I'll ever vote to allow anybody to put a battery storage in our community. Those things are just dangerous, and the fire department would love us. So, because you can't put them out once they catch on fire. So the other two, I guess there's always a potential that it could happen, but if they wanted to put a solar farm in, they'd literally want hundreds of acres. And the same thing with wind farms, because of the size and the fall distance, it would take hundreds and hundreds of acres. Like what happened up in Gaylord, they were attempting to do it
Yeah.
like in 1,600 acres, and then they settled for 800. And then it ended up dying because they were trying to stick it on state land. So I'm not saying it can't happen, but it could. And so if we're gonna write something, my feeling would be something under what's called workable plan. But if you want us to focus our time, you want us to focus on the septic first, and it seems to me that's more prevalent than the other. That's, I guess,
Absolutely.
again, this is up to the board. You need to give us direction.
Septic first.
I agree, septic first.
Agreed. Okay, that's what I'm gonna agree.
And I
I'll go
think
back to-
short-term rentals follows closely behind that, just because of.
Well,
it's
short-term
that
rentals.
fact of-
You already have that. That's
yeah.
off
It's
our
there,
plate
but-
until you kick
yeah.
it back or
Mhm.
move forward with
We
it.
either kick it back or we move forward with what they have. Like I said, I know I've got some questions on it, and you're only gonna get one chance to bite at these apples, so we need to do our due diligence with it. If we're moving forward with it, we need to be very careful.
Yeah.
So I suspect that, like anything else, would be a 50-50 out there. 50% will be for it, 50%
Oh,
will be
sure.
against it
Yeah.
at a public hearing, but we need to make sure that we're satisfied moving forward. So yeah, I think you've heard your direction, right?
Yep.
Okay.
We're
we're
meeting
good.
next week if anybody's interested.
Public comment, anybody have any public comment? Thanks for sitting through these long meetings. I've had some discussion with at least Michelle anyways about, I don't know whether we start doing 2 a month or whether we just tough through these things, the work sessions, but it doesn't seem like it gets any less. But I think it's important that we have meetings in the public
Yeah,
forum for
right.
discussion. And that people don't feel like we just don't have discussion, I guess.
There are townships that don't,
I-
which I don't understand how they operate.
So, and on that basis, I very heavily, on our Tuesday night board meetings, our action items, that's where we're at. I thank you all for sitting through this. We don't have any public comment. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Did you want,
What?
our?
Oh, yeah, I'm
reports?
sorry. Yeah, my sugar's getting low. I'm
I
sorry.
know,
Mary Jo, anything further?
Nope, all set.
I'm good too.
Michelle?
The only thing I'd say is, this is your budget status report. I ran it yesterday, but, we're doing something different this year. You always have waited for the audit to come along, which is months from now, to get your accruals. We're gonna do them in-house starting in April. So the next meeting we have like this one, I'd like this on the agenda because I'm gonna have what would be the final, I don't expect we'll have any
Once we
audit
can.
adjustments when so that's that. My treasurer's report is gonna, I'm changing that format, next month. May not mean much to you guys, but it's always been reported at bank balance, and I don't like that because that really isn't truly what we have for our record. So you'll see, basically I found a way using the Cogitate system to come up with a report that I think is meaningful. We did meet with the marina, Russ, the manager, and Lori. We're working on getting that rolled out for the spring to be able to, get that accounting set up differently on the Cogitate system. And we have collected all of our taxes. I've got the settlement from the township or the county. It's all now been deposited, and I will be making the journal entries and then also putting that money in the respective funds probably within the next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't have anything else that I can probably say intelligently at this point. So I make a motion to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Supported by Treasurer. Thanks for the Anderson. Yeah, thank you for the great meeting this morning, and again, your time and patience out there. Appreciate it.
11:28.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same motion carried. Thank you.
Eat a snack. Jesus Christ.